الله الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم الله الكبير. Again, we're grateful to God for giving us this opportunity. He sees it that we are worthy of this huge blessing that is bestowed upon us today, and so we should be directing all of our thanks and appreciations to our Creator, who's the all gracious, the all merciful, and make sure that we are grateful enough for the blessings that He has bestowed upon us today. And this is a huge favor from God, and so we should be making sure that we are actually worthy of this huge blessing and stay worthy of this huge blessing. Gratefulness is a godlike quality, and so we should follow God's path. That's the straight path, and so we should never take the wrong path and ask God to guide us to the straight path. And that's what we do during contact prayers, and that's the most important thing that we can do actually during the contact prayers, commemoration of God. And so we should never miss it. We should make sure that we always remember to do our contact prayers and never forget it. So today what I wanted to do is see. I wanted to share chapter 58. Chapter 58 is called the divorce, and it is the only chapter in the Quran that has the word God or Allah has been mentioned at least once in every verse. That's the unique property of this chapter. The word God has been mentioned at least once in every verse in this chapter. And so I just want to read the last 3 verses of this chapter. There are 22 verses. And I want to read the last 3 verses. And God says, indeed, those who oppose God and His messenger will be amongst the lowliest. And then God says, God has decreed that most assuredly I and my messengers shall be victorious. Indeed, God is all powerful, almighty. And God is telling us how the believers actually should behave. And then this is the last verse 22 of this chapter. God says, we'll never find a people who believe in God in the last day, loving those who oppose God and His messenger, even though they may be their fathers or their sons or their brothers or their relatives. These are the ones whom He has decreed faith in their hearts and strengthened them with the Spirit from Himself. And He will admit them into paradises with flowing rivers beneath them, to dwell therein eternally. God will be pleased with them, and they will be pleased with Him. These are the party of God, absolutely for sure. The party of God shall be always successful. Okay. This is God's decree. So what we must do, we must never take those people out. These are the closest one to you. Okay? These are not strangers. Some people even gravitate towards strangers, friends or whatever. They're impressed with some attributes of these people. They could gravitate towards them against the messenger. And so God is telling us here that these people will be amongst the lowliest. Indeed, those who oppose God and his messenger will be unsalutious. Okay. Verse after that, God has decreed that most assuredly, I and my messenger shall be victorious. Indeed, God is all powerful, almighty. Okay? It doesn't matter what they do, it's irrelevant. God makes sure that he and his messengers are always victorious. Something will happen, okay, who makes those people who oppose God and his messenger amongst the lowliest. Okay? And so, God is telling us that it doesn't matter how close these people are. Loving those, he says that the people who believe in God in the last day, loving those who oppose God and his messenger, even though they may be their fathers or their sons or their brothers or their relatives. It doesn't matter how close they are. God and his messenger will take precedent over them. You cannot extend love to people who are opposing God and his messenger. Okay? So who are these people? See, these are the ones whom God has decreed faith in their hearts. They have a faithful heart, because that comes from God. And strengthen them with the Spirit from himself. Okay? God's Spirit actually dwells within them, and that strengthens them. Things becomes easy for them. They understand things better. You come in here today, or you're dialing this number, or you log on to this site, or whatever you do, and somehow connects you to this forum, is going to strengthen you. Doing anything else is going to diminish your strength. That's why I keep saying, stressing so much about prayers. We've seen why we should do the Jumu'ah prayers. We've shown irrefutable numbers that are so complicated. If one wants to actually look at, if you look at some of the definition of these things, there is no way you can understand them. No way. I don't understand them. I have to struggle. Some of these things are so advanced that I don't even understand them. This mathematics is not understood by anybody. It's not resolved. These issues are not resolved. God's mercy and his grace and the love that he has for us made it easy by showing us small numbers that we can actually, they're tangible, we can actually relate to. Okay? So these are the ones who he has decreed faith in their hearts and strengthened them with a spirit from himself. And he will admit them into paradises with flowing rivers beneath them, to dwell therein eternally. Then God says God will be pleased with them and they will be pleased with him. See? It's a two-way street. A lot of people say, why God puts these people in hell? Ask that question. They haven't done anything. Why, to them, it seems that they are nice guys, quote unquote. They seem to be, normal people. They are nice guys. and they seem to be nice and gentle to everybody and all kinds of stuff. Why do they go to hell? Because they are not pleased with God. They cannot be in a place with some entity that they're not pleased with. It's a two-way street. It says, we'll be pleased with them and they will be pleased with him. This thing also is repeated in chapter 89. Towards the end of that chapter. Read the last 4 verses of chapter 89. Al-Fajr. The dawn. Okay. Basically says the same thing. It's a two-way street that person that wants to go to heaven has to be pleased with God. Because that's where the physical existence of God is. Okay? That total energy and physical existence of God is there. And they have to be pleased with it. They cannot be displeased. So we have to make decisions in our own lives. What are we going to do? Which side are we going to take? Are we going to take this side who hasn't shown anything to us, just talks? Or we're going to take the other side where God is actually telling us to do. Because obviously those people who do not do that do not believe in God in the last days. They do not believe in the hereafter. They do not believe in God. Because that's a requirement. It says you will never find a people who believe in God in the last day loving those who oppose God and his messenger. Look at the phraseology here. What does it tell you? That means that those people who do that extend love towards those guys, oppose God and his messenger, do not believe in God and the hereafter. That's what that statement says. So what are we doing? What are we doing extending love to them? If we do believe in God on the last day, what do we do extending love to the group of people who do that? This is I always say this is a very small community. There's all kinds of opposition to this small community. Try to rip it apart. There are 7.5 billion, 7.8 billion, I don't know what the population is of the world now. There are all those people. Why concentrate in this small community? Because Satan has to do his work too. He doesn't have to be in those places that they're already idol worship and everything. That's it. They're doing his deed for him. So the place that he has to concentrate is this small group of people. Because we are the one that God has given us a proof. And the proof is so overwhelming that they cannot stand it. They bring all kinds of excuses why they should not see it the way it should be seen. They bring in gender, they bring in Arabic language, they bring in all kinds of stuff. And why we should not pay attention to problems. Why we should not look at the fact that the 19th prime number is 67 and the 19th composite is 30 and chapter 67 in the Quran has 30 verses. We should completely ignore it. Okay? that's just you just playing with numbers. Now God forgot that. God didn't know that. When God wrote the Quran, He didn't know that. When He revealed the Quran, He didn't know that. Okay? This verse here. It says the Arabic actually says وَكَتَبَ اللَّهُ. God has written. Remember when He says that He has written or He has decreed mercy upon Himself? This is God has written this. That most assuredly I and my messengers shall be victorious, no matter what they do. It doesn't matter. If we have two people logging onto this thing, that's enough. It doesn't matter. We have two people logging in for Juma Quranic study, it's fine. This doesn't matter. If the whole world disbelieves, it doesn't matter. This is not a number game in this world. God says in chapter 22, He says, do you not see that everyone, the trees, the mountains, everything is prostrating to God? And the stars? Don't you see that? Think that God has run out of worshippers somehow? It doesn't matter. It's a very small minority. This is God's huge mercy and His benevolence that wants to save this group of people, this small minority, which is basically nothing in the grand scheme of things, called humans and jinns. Wants to give them another chance to stop the thing, to stop the bickering, to stop the jealousy, to stop why him, why not us? So once that happens, okay, then they're on the right path. If they continue doing this, we have no business. No business extending love to those kind of people. And He says it doesn't matter how close they are to you. It's irrelevant. So what I want to do is, I started with this because what I want to do is, and as I said, this surah is name Allah has been mentioned at least once in every verse. And check it for yourself. And so we highlight with blue here, so you don't have to look very hard. It's already there in front of you. Okay? So, and I will show you proof how this 5821 actually applies to today's situation. Okay? And then you can judge for yourself. All right, so let me go ahead and stop here and we'll finish this unit.